Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Tuesday morning to you all. Hope you guys are waking up and feeling great out there this morning and having a fantastic start to your day and a great week out there so far. Here to bring you the latest on what's going to happen weather-wise for your Tuesday. We'll break down the risk of strong to severe storms once again for today. I don't think that'll change for the foreseeable future. I think we'll always at least run a risk of thunderstorms somewhere throughout the rest of the summer, even into the fall, heck, maybe even into the winter, depending on what kind of pattern is in place, but we'll discuss that. We'll get detailed, and then we'll break down the flooding risk for certain areas of the country too, and really just speaking on the southern half of Florida really runs a risk of flooding. I'm actually surprised they only have a slight risk up for excessive rainfall. We'll see if that updates throughout the next several hours. So just always note that some of this information could change. I'm making this video as of around, you might as well say 7 a.m. Eastern time. So some of the info could switch up on us a little bit. So we'll break it all down for you folks, get detail for each individual region. After we get done doing that, we'll give you some updated information on the severe outlooks to come, speaking on tomorrow's severe threats and for a Thursday severe weather threat. Almost forgot what day of the week we were at. And then we'll give you an update on the tropics, continue to try to figure out what's going to happen down there in the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. Is anything going to develop? We already know there's going to be a ton of rainfall for Florida. It's happening right now. You guys are tuning in from South Florida. I'm sure you'll tell me in the comments it's pouring rain depending on where you are, especially for the southern half of the peninsula of Florida. But we'll give you updated information on that. But we'll also talk about 3 different areas that I'm watching. All these areas have a low chance of development, but I think it's worth discussing all 3 of them. So we'll speak on that. And after we get done doing that, we'll speak a little bit about some developing news, and that's the fact that we could have a big-time heat dome over the central and eastern U.S. as we get into really next week. Summer is really about to flex its guns on us across the eastern U.S., so we've been generally lucky so far, but I think our luck's going to change. I guess it just depends on how you view it as luck. Some people just love the blazing hot. I know that I don't, so you guys know I'm a big fall and winter fan. But with all that being said, if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about, I'll pray over as always. Please put those in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling. So I would say there's more so just 3 things going on right now this morning. And I would say this could be a 4th thing. There is some rain moving into the Pacific Northwest, really mainly for extreme northwestern Washington state. You got that. You got the rain moving across areas of Minnesota. This could fire up some strong and severe storms in this area a little bit later today. Some energy might get more amped up and kind of refuel the atmosphere after the morning rain. I can tell you it is downright cold. I'm just going to say it. It's cold for June 11th standards up here in the UP and Michigan. I mean, it's sub-freezing temperatures in the interior sections of the UP. You guys that are tuning in from that area, let me know what your temperature says if you got a little weather station outside. But we'll discuss that when we get to the north central frame, but downright chilly across the Great Lakes region, even down to the Ohio Valley. We got a line of storms surging through areas of Texas right now. This is strong, the severe. We even have a flash flood warning up for areas of southwestern Texas, and we got a lot of tropical downpour action dancing around across the southern tip of the peninsula of Florida. A lot of rain off the coast. You got to watch energy this time of the year over the Gulf Stream off the coast of the southeast, the Carolinas. But there definitely is starting to get a lot of moisture into Florida. Northeast, pretty quiet. That could change a little bit later today. Could get some more pop-up showers and storms, so a little bit of a convective feed out there. So that's what's going on right now. Watches, mornings, advisories, the eastern U.S., pretty quiet. Central, pretty quiet. But remember, pivotal weather map outlook doesn't always show us everything. There is actually frost advisories in the UP and Michigan and northern sections of lower Michigan because, I mean, you're getting frosty conditions up there here in mid-June. So I know that's not totally unheard of. But I mean, guys, we're pretty much getting fully in the summer now. I know technically it's June 20th or June 21st, but for me, when it hits June 1st, it's summertime. So it's pretty wild to see. But maybe you guys up there are like, Mitch, this is not abnormal at all. But anyways, flood watches up for the southern tip of Florida. Excessive heat watches in the burgundy color here. Excessive heat warnings. The ridge is building back in place after a couple of days of a little bit of a break from the heat. Heat advisories have been reissued across the Valley of California, excessive heat warnings in the northern Valley of California, and it's going to get quite hot over the next few days. And eventually, this heat will shift east into the central and eastern U.S., and we'll talk about that at the very end of the video. Excessive rainfall outlook. kind of surprised they just have a slight risk, even for day 2 and day 3. Just a slight risk, which means at least a 15% chance of flash flood guidance being exceeded within 25 miles in a given location. I would think that the reason they have this is because, one, you guys are under drought conditions over the pretty much the southern half of Florida. Now, something that would counter that is like, hey, if we're under drought conditions, soil very dry, if we get a whole lot of rain all at once, the soil is not going to be able to really soak it in. Well, here's the thing is I think we're just going to get rounds of rain. I don't think that it's going to be a torrential downpour for like 3 hours straight. I think you'll have a torrential downpour for like 30 minutes and then maybe a break for an hour or two. Then here comes another torrential downpour for 30 minutes. And those 2 30-minute downpours, for example, could add up to 2 or 3 inches of rain. So it gives the soil some time to soak it in. So I think that that's the reason. That's my reasoning. But either way, flash flooding is going to be an issue. And I think that some of these outlooks will increase in confidence for flash flooding here in the coming days for sure. So watch out for a low risk of flash flooding across Texas. We'll watch for that. Now the Storm Prediction Center, nothing overly concerning out there. An area we'll watch for later on this afternoon. Some strong and severe storms could refire in areas of southeastern Minnesota, western Wisconsin, and areas of Iowa. Level 1 out of 5 risk. There's even a level 1 out of 5 risk for eastern North Carolina all the way up to extreme southeast VA. Virginia Beach, Norfolk. You guys, level 1 out of 5. General risk of thunderstorms across Florida with the tropical moisture. And then you do have the slight risk down here. And I would say south central Texas. Almost said Florida. I haven't done that in a while. Texas and Florida, for whatever reason, I get mixed up. Like I don't know the difference, but I do, I promise. Level 2 out of 5 in the yellow area. Marginal risk, level 1 out of 5. And yeah, we'll just watch out for some strong, severe storms down here. But I mean, you guys have been dealing with it all spring, early summer. So nothing unusual, honestly, down here. But we will zoom into this. Marginal risk here. And then, yeah, a little baby area of a risk of thunderstorms across areas of the Sierra Nevada. So we'll watch for that, a little bit of thunder activity. But the trough is really dominating this entire region. Cooler, drier conditions. That's why you just got the white here on your screen for the Storm Prediction Center. Let's talk about the southeast now. I will say really the only state that's going to get any action today is Florida. But I will take the broad look at it first. But your eyes are mainly going to go to either this or this, and we're going to zoom into Florida here in a second. But I like to always take a larger look at things. We get until about midday. You see all the rain down there in Florida. Could make it as far north as like Gainesville, Florida. Very possible, but I think most of it will stay Orlando points south, I would say. Okay, but you get into this evening, maybe a little lull, a little break, and then we get into the overnight hours after midnight, and then we're going to wake up tomorrow morning with more numerous showers and storms. There might not be a break. It might just be round after round after round. Very possible. But you notice the rest of the southeast today, nice conditions, mostly lower humidity than your average humidity this time of the year for sure. And a pretty nice, comfortable day for June 11th standards for sure. So a little bit closer look for my friends down here in South Florida. Let me know if you're viewing from this area. I know I got some viewers. But you notice this morning it's raining pretty good. Tropical downpours over the state. You'll continue to move this forward. And I mean, look, midday looks really, really rainy, tropical. But the storms are reaching, well, about an hour or two north of Orlando, getting almost all the way up to Gainesville. And, just pretty much over the entire, I would say, southern half of the peninsula of Florida. I know I've already mentioned that a couple times, but storming like crazy in Fort Myers down to the Florida Keys, Miami, Fort Lauderdale. A lot of rain falling. And then we start to get into this afternoon. Same similar deal. You're going to get breaks here and there, but it might just downright rain all day for the extreme southern tip of Florida. You just might get moderation in the rain. It might not rain extremely heavy all the time. If it did, then you're going to need a boat down here. But you get into the overnight hours, some more storms will begin to fire into the wee hours of the morning. We're probably going to be waking up tomorrow morning to very stormy conditions across the Bahamas. And still storms just rumbling over Florida. And this is not able to get pretty far north in Florida because dry air up here, trough in place, is basically kind of yanking this rain this way. It's not allowing it to come this way because dry air and the directional steering pattern in the atmosphere really just making this rain just hit southern the southern tip of Florida. And we kind of, talked about that in like yesterday morning's video, for example. But rainfall between now and the next 24 hours, just the next 24 hours. We'll extend this throughout the weekend when we talk about an update on the tropics. But guys, I mean, they're going for over a half a foot of rain like Fort Myers, 3 to 4 inches of rain in Tampa. Not as much as you get into central Florida, but you get, in the southeast Florida near Miami, maybe an inch or two, maybe 3 inches. This could be off a little bit, but they are really thinking, southwestern Florida is flat out going to be the epicenter of the most rainfall with this. So be safe down here. Take the precautions needed. Northeast today, quiet, nice start, but once again, another day, another afternoon where some pop-up showers, some downpours will get going across Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire. Seems like that's been a rinse and repeat thing that I've said over the last several days and weeks. And some of these, could dump a good bit of rain. Some small hail is very possible. And just consistent lower pressure overhead is allowing this. So if you're wondering why do we keep getting all these showers and thunder showers and storms up here, it's because you got lower pressure overhead. This allows for rising air. It just allows for a thunderstorm and convective development. And that's exactly what we're getting. And we'll have another day of it. I don't think it'll get very far southwest in the PA or anything like that. I mean, Boston, you might not get a drop of rain. You might get a couple showers a day. So we'll see what happens with this. And then we get into tomorrow morning. Could be waking up to some more shower activity, but not as widespread as this afternoon, of course. So down here for the south central U.S., the southern plains, we're getting the storms this morning. These will continue to rumble through. Leftover boundaries will allow for the refiring of more storms. Very light flow down here, but there is flow. You get a little bit of flow in the upper levels of the atmosphere mixed with the higher humidity, the higher surface temperatures. That's enough to get these storms going. And that's exactly what's kind of been the pattern over Texas, over the last few to several days. And, I believe there was a storm chaser in Texas. I think his name's Corey. I think he got, a brief tornado in Texas yesterday. So you never know what just a little bit of flow in the atmosphere can do. It can get these storms going for sure, and that's exactly what will happen. And we'll take it throughout the evening hours, some pop-up downpours over here in Colorado and New Mexico getting going. And then, you look at southwestern Texas, some storms, and then we get all the way into tomorrow morning. And we could be dealing with some more storms across central Texas as we're waking up for our Wednesday morning. Get a little bit closer look at all this. It's really right here. Abilene. Is that how you pronounce it? Abilene. I feel like you guys have... I think that is the most corrected town, and you guys are always nice about it. It's not me complaining. I think that is the most corrected town of any town in the U.S. On my YouTube. So hopefully I said it right. But anyways, you guys can get some storms. If you're not getting them already by midday today, it looks like the epicenter of it will be right over your area. Storms can make it all the way to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Some scattered downpours near San Angelo. Very possible. Could make it all the way to San Antonio. But you watch these little storms down here. These could pack a punch. Some large hail possible, gusty winds. Even though, I didn't show it. I gotta quit doing that. Low end tornado threat, wind threat, 15% risk, hail threat. Y'all gotta call me out on this on the comments. Sometimes I'll show the Storm Prediction Center outlook, but I don't show the actual wind, hail, and tornado outlook. So I've done that quite a bit of times over the last couple months, at least on these smaller days. So at least I'm not doing it on the bigger days. But just watch out for these storms here. And if you look at the updraft velocity swath, it does indicate some stronger updrafts, a little bit of rotation with these storms. But this really just symbolizes to me there will be a hail threat with these. So be aware of that if you live in southwestern Texas, western Texas. So north central U.S., guys, look how chilly it is for June 11th. I mean, the UP of Michigan, guys, if you look really closely, first off, let's mention down here, 40s across Ohio, Indiana, Illinois. I mean, the eastern half of Iowa, much different than the western, much more chillier with just cold front overhead and just a chillier air mass overhead. It's downright cold up in Canada. 40s across Wisconsin. But folks, I mean, you zoom in here to Michigan. I mean, it is chilly. There's pockets you can almost see the pink here. That's sub-freezing temperatures. You're getting a freeze across areas of the interior UP of Michigan, it looks like. So pretty wild stuff, downright chilly. Let me know how low your temperatures got. I mean, I'm sure some areas dipped below 30 degrees. Pretty wild stuff. But, speaking of the weather today, these showers will continue to make their way. Temperatures will rebound very fast. It's not like you're going to be locked in the 40s and 30s today. They will rebound to the 60s and 70s. Actually be a pleasant day. And we'll get some showers that will move in just after midnight across the UP, across Wisconsin. Not a big deal. Just some early summer showers will make their way through. And then we could get a strong to severe storm or two in like Wisconsin. These could form in southeastern Minnesota down to Iowa. But as you can tell, not very widespread at all. Doesn't look like to be a big deal at all. We get after midnight. Some of these can make it all the way to Milwaukee, Green Bay, or Chicago into the wee hours of the morning. So just watch out if you live in west central Wisconsin, southeastern Minnesota down to Iowa. Could get a strong to severe storm or two. And once again tomorrow morning, could wake up to a similar thing in Minnesota. Some showers kind of drifting through. So the western U.S., it's a pretty quiet day. A ridge-dominated pattern. Some moisture at the top of the ridge in northwestern Washington State. A little bit of storm activity along the Front Range in Colorado. I think this definitely could produce some large hail. It's very possible. Colorado's big state for large hail. So be aware of that if you're along the Front Range. Denver points south, just east of Denver too. But the rest of the western U.S., the weather looks rather quiet and very hot the further south you get. Speaking of the hot temperatures and just temperatures in general, northeast a day in the 60s, 70s, but you get into the higher elevations of the Pocono, I would say the Adirondacks, Telkio Plateau, and even some of these hilly terrains here in the southern tier of New York. Temperatures might struggle to get out the 50s. And if you notice, if you look really closely here, there's a boundary right into here that I would say really separates pretty warm air with more cooler spring-like air right into here. And that is your trough in place. And this trough is a little bit further south, too. There's a cold front. What I mean to say is cold front. It's further south than this. In fact, it's all the way down like into South Carolina and Georgia. But, if you're along the Gulf coastline, it's going to get downright hot and humid. But you don't have to work very far north before you get into more of I would say, an late spring, early summer type air mass, a little bit more drier air, but still a very warm day. Still can probably get in your pool for a lot of these areas. But you move out west, warm temperatures building all the way up across the plains, widespread 80s, but the southwest just downright hot, 100s, but not comparable to last week yet, but that could change over the next couple of days. But it'll get into the hundreds into the Valley of California. Phoenix will be very hot today. Nothing too crazy for you guys' standards. South Texas, southwestern Texas, very hot. Southern Arizona, southern New Mexico, very hot also. So a little bit cooler in the Pacific Northwest with just a little bit of low pressure overhead. So moving forward into tomorrow's Storm Prediction Center for day 2 for your Wednesday. This has been a day highlighted for a few days now. There's a slight risk, level 2 out of 5 for Duluth down in Minneapolis, down to Sioux Falls. La Crosse, you guys have a level 2 out of 5 risk, marginal risk. Marquette, Green Bay, down to Des Moines, Omaha, Lincoln, Fargo, Aberdeen, you guys, level 1 out of 5 risk. There is a 5% risk of a tornado. This could uptrend. We'll have to watch. 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles of any given location for the city of Minneapolis. 2% risk in the green area. And then the wind threat, there is a 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour within 25 miles of any given location. And then the hail threat, there is a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. But there's also a 10% risk in the blackout line region with the dashes going in between of hail exceeding 2 inch in diameter or larger. So, don't ignore that threat. There definitely is a risk of significant hail 2 inch in diameter or larger, okay? And then there's a slight risk already for day 3. This does include Kansas City to Springfield, Peoria. Marginal risk extending all the way from lower Michigan all the way back to Cheyenne, Wyoming. So big area of real estate here does run a risk of strong and severe storms. But the highlight area is right here for Thursday, level 2 out of 5. And we just know, hey, there's a 15% risk of severe weather within 25 miles in a given location. So what's driving this severe weather? We've talked about this many times already, but we'll go over it again for you new viewers tuning in or for people who just didn't understand the first couple times. Today's severe weather threat is really being driven, the higher risk area is down here. You see this little bit of light flow, 30 knots of flow, not a whole lot, but you see these colors in like purple, very muted purple look. That is just enough flow right down here to get these storms going over a very moist and hot air mass. So that's what's driving the slight risk down in Texas. But if you look up here, there's a lot more flow rumbling through this region, and this is flow at 500 millibars, so about 18,000 feet up in the air. It's a great thing to look at when you're looking at trying to find favorable kinematics for storm development. Is there a push in the atmosphere, an oomph in the atmosphere to really get these storms, the lift to really get them going? And what you look for is really at the bottom flank of this, what we call mid-level jet, 500 millibar flow. That is where your best moisture is going to rise up to, especially obviously in the central and eastern U.S., where we're not dealing with all the Rockies out west. So, there'll be just enough of a moist flow right up into this area where there's just enough northwesterly flow rumbling down. So you do have I would say more of a risk right in here of severe weather today. So we'll certainly watch for this region right in here. I might have circled just off the wrong areas, but you get what I'm saying. A little bit of an exit region for this jet right in here, which would be right in here. Just enough moisture riding over this region. Not a whole lot, though. You don't have a lot of flow. There is a low somewhere up into here, kind of providing a little bit of lift in the atmosphere, but not a lot at all. So, you move this into... Sorry, I thought I was getting a phone call. Sorry for interruption. My phone always plays tricks on me. Well, you get into Wednesday, and you get into Wednesday afternoon, and now you have more of a zonal mid-level flow up here. This is a classic example of how the jet, man, my arrows are not good, how the jet moves further north the deeper that we get into the year, deeper we get into summer. So the jet is really stuck to the north, and we keep this going. We take it all the way into Wednesday afternoon. Let's just take it to Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening here. And once again, you look at that exit region of the jet. Flow's coming from the west right in here in the mid-levels, but then it begins to dip down like this. Okay, more of a northwesterly flow coming out the northwest like this. So that's the difference here, and then there's a bit of an exit region right in here in the jet. So you would certainly watch out for some severe weather right into here, but also back here too. Lots of moist air riding into this area now that has just enough flow in the atmosphere. You're wondering, well, why aren't we getting a lot of severe weather up in here? I'm seeing more bright, vibrant purple pink colors. Well, that's because once you get well entrenched into that mid-level jet, at the surface, you've had a lot of cool and dry air already move in. So you're not going to get strong to severe storm risk and cool and dry air, which is up here. There's some sort of boundary probably setting up. And guys, I'm just going to draw a line. This probably isn't exactly where it is. Some sort of boundary right into here separating dry, stable air with moist, unstable air with just enough flow kind of rumbling through that boundary north and south of it. So that's the area we will watch. And then we start to get into Thursday. And I'm sorry, that was Wednesday. So, man, I just got that all confused, guys. You see what I did there? Well, no, I was talking about tomorrow's severe weather threat. So I think I got it right. So I might have just got confused here. But we get into Thursday, right? Severe weather threat. And I was speaking about Wednesday. If I said Thursday, I'm not sure. But anyways, kind of the same similar setup. So it kind of means the same thing. But northwesterly flow kind of rumbling through here. So this is Thursday's severe weather threat. So we kind of go back and we look right in here. Thursday severe weather threat. So you got the marginal risk into here, slight risk into here. Go back and look at that. Thursday afternoon, day of severe weather, moist air riding up into here. You see the wind barbs kind of pointing to the northwest. That means the flow's coming out the northwest. So moist air riding up here, meeting this favorable mid-level flow right here at the bottom of this mid-level jet, which is kind of right into here. Remember, you get too far up into this region, you get involved into that drier, cooler air. Right at the bottom flank of this mid-level jet, where the moist air is really rising into, boundaries set in place. That is where your kinematics, your wind flow rides over that very moist air mass. And that's where you're going to get the overlapping of ingredients for strong to severe storms for Thursday. So, sorry I got the days mixed up there. So, this is what it looks like for Wednesday. Let's back it up a little bit. Come on, work with me here. This is what it looks like for Wednesday. More of a zonal flow riding up into here. This is introducing that severe weather threat for more so. Let's make sure we get the outlook right. This is introducing that severe weather outlook more so for this area, which makes sense because your exit region of this jet is more so, and we are everywhere this morning, right into this region. See how you had the better flow right into here, and it's kind of riding right into here, moist air right into here, overlapping of ingredients right into there. And you can see it. Another great way to look at this is if you see in the buckles and the isobars right into here, see how it's doing like this weird squiggly thing right there? That tells us that there's energy embedded into this flow. There's a lot of energy in the flow up here, and you can get it, but that energy is not going to really give us that strong to severe thunderstorm development. You got to get this energy into some moist air with the flow, which is going to be right into here, which is why you get that slight risk there for Wednesday. So, that was a rocky explanation there just because the days got a little bit mixed up, but I hope that we recovered well. Hopefully we can explain the dew points a little bit better. Remember I was kind of drawing the arrows from the south with the dew points rose. Well, today, as in Tuesday, so while we have the severe weather down here, remember how I mentioned a little bit of flow over Texas for Tuesday? Well, this is riding over dew points into the 60s and 70s. So this is going to support severe weather. And there is a little bit of moist air up here into this region. Dew points in the upper 50s, low 60s. So that's why you do have the marginal risk up into this region. Okay? With plenty of flow riding over this region, you're just kind of lacking the thermodynamics, which is your low-level moisture. Okay? So plenty of thermodynamics down here. Somewhat lack of kinematics. Plenty of kinematics up here. I wouldn't even say that. You're kind of just lacking everything up here. That's why you just have a marginal risk. And then you kind of move this into Wednesday. Wednesday afternoon. A lot of moist air. Let's just move it into Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening. A lot of moist air riding right into this region. And remember, we got that mid-level jet riding over this region, starting to tilt out the northwest. And meets right into here, and that's why we have severe weather, a severe weather shot right into this region tomorrow. Tons of moist air to greet that mid-level flow right into this region. So we're going to have a threat of severe weather for Wednesday up there. And then we look into our Thursday. Make sure we get our days right. Come on, work with me. And remember, I was talking about the boundary, but I was talking about a little bit too much for Wednesday. But Thursday is a great example of that boundary. You see this? See how you got all this dry air right into here, very moist air right into here, boundary right into there, separating that moist air and that dry air. That's where some sort of cold front boundary is going to be. So you got now the flow kind of riding down into this region, right? Kind of greeting this moist air mass that is right into here. And you're wondering, well, why do we have a severe weather threat like in the Cheyenne? Well, you only need dew points in the 50s. Like when the higher up you get in the elevation, and you're more so in a plateau. You got mountains out here. Some areas it's just a high plateau. But you definitely need some deep moisture the further east you work in lower elevations, and you're going to have plenty of it for Thursday. So yeah, so spent a little bit too much time on that, but just got the days mixed up. So I apologize for that. Hopefully it wasn't too confusing. But an update on the tropics here. As of right now, we have, let's make sure we don't have no new update. Tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 7 days. So no new information, no areas of interest issued per the National Hurricane Center. And now we look at an update on the tropics here as far as the GFS compared to the European. There's 3 things to watch here. First thing is what's going on right now. A lot of tropical moisture. Does some sort of area of energy get going? So we're going to start off 24 hours from right now. A lot of tropical moisture off the coast of Florida. And what we'll watch for here is we're getting in a Thursday morning. You notice you're starting to get a lot of moisture off the coast of the southeast now. And basically the west and east side of Florida. A lot of moisture. So does some sort of main dominant vortice kind of get to the east side of Florida, develop? Here it is. Does something try to develop here? We'll watch. I mean, look, you can see The isobars kind of circling up right here. Can we get some sort of formation of that? We'll have to watch. There is a shot, I would think. It's something trying to form. Right now, the National Hurricane Center not biting on an area of interest, but I would watch something trying to form the later portion of this week into this weekend off the coast of Southeast. The next thing you watch for is some energy that pulls out the Western Caribbean as we get late this week. So this is pulling out. This is kind of coming into the Gulf of Mexico. You see this blob of yellow and red down there. That is something we need to watch too. It literally comes into the Gulf of Mexico and it just cruises across the body of ocean, the Gulf of Mexico, and heads, right to the Gulf coastline. So we get into Sunday morning. It even pops a low pressure here, 1,002 millibar low pressure. And then we get into Sunday evening. It pulls a lot of tropical moisture. Could this be a depression, a weak tropical storm? Into southeast Louisiana, Mississippi, areas of Alabama sometime late this weekend into early next week. Brings a lot of tropical moisture. The third thing to watch is for a Central American gyrum, basically a broad area low pressure over Central America, which one could argue this is what's causing all these little areas of vortices and just tropical moisture. Something we'll try to get going off Central America or Mexico. Could drift into the Bay of Campeche here. Sometime Monday and next Monday, and then we get into Tuesday, and you notice how it pops off a low pressure here, 999 millibar low pressure. We could get tropical development down here. That's your third thing to watch. And after we get past that, it just gets too far out. So does the Euro show something similar? The Euro, as we're getting into Thursday, does show a low. Trying to get going off the coast of Southeast, very, very weak, but it does pop an L there. I would watch for that. That would head on out into the Atlantic Ocean, I think, regardless. And then you see the tropical moisture right into here in the Western Caribbean. What does it do? It kind of does some weird stuff. It shows up right here Sunday morning. Here it is, cruising across the Gulf, and kind of more so moves it. I think it's making way too much noise over there. Kind of more so moves it into Texas, into Louisiana, bringing some tropical moisture into you guys. Is that a forecast? No, just something to watch. And then we watch the Bay of Campeche. And this is a lot of moisture getting pushed into Texas still as we get into like early next week. Could something form right into here? There's a low pressure popping off. Watch out, Brownsville, maybe. Tuesday morning, a week out from today, something will try to get going down there. So 3 areas. So is anything concerning right now? No. I would say no, but I would certainly watch. And if you look at the Vort map here, it's a great way in the low levels of the atmosphere, 850 millibars, to really try to figure out where a low level spin is. And there's the energy as we're getting into Wednesday morning, cruising over Florida. And you notice how these wind barbs kind of begin to circle right in here. You got to look close. The wind barbs are these little things right here. They begin to somewhat circle right in here. It's very broad, but it's there. And look how you kind of have multiple vortices here. This is getting into Friday afternoon. You got to watch that. Okay? But it might not even be worth watching unless you're a fish out in the ocean. So then you watch the GFS with what comes out the Western Caribbean. Tries to develop something into here. It's very broad, very elongated, and not that great of a low-level spin, but there is something there, a more highlighted area of energy and the more vibrant colors here. Okay? And then we have to watch this quite literal broad area spin. You can actually look at the wind bars if you look closely, coming out of this region, and they're circling back like this. This is quite literally a CAG, a Central American gyrum, basically a huge broad area spin over Central America and areas of Mexico. So pretty wild stuff. It's a great example of it in the low levels of the atmosphere. And does it try to pop off some sort of energy down here deep in the Bay of Campeche and throw it back into Mexico? We'll have to watch. Very interesting. Interesting stuff for sure. But regardless, you're going to get a big pool of tropical moisture into Florida over the next several days. Dry areas indicating the brown, moist area indicating the green. This will continue to hit Florida over and over and over again over the next few days. You see all the moist air down here. A lot of dry air, though, with this trough in place over the Southeast, rest of the southeast, and there it pops off that low here. Moist air continues. Are we going to get any of this tropical moisture into the southeast? Well, watch as we eventually get into Sunday. This is where it tries to develop something here in the Gulf of Mexico. Slingshots a ton of moisture into the Gulf states and basically goes all the way up into the Mid-South and eventually into the Ohio Valley. That's not a forecast, it's just something to watch. So, yeah, I mean, that could definitely get a lot of rain going. And one thing I do want to kind of show you guys on the fly here, in fact, we'll just show it at the end. This is rainfall between now and Sunday evening. Guys, they're going for over a foot of rain still in southwestern Florida. Ton of rain on the way for you guys. I mean, it's already falling out there right now, but a lot of rain for the southern tip of Florida. A lot of rain. So definitely be aware of this. We've been talking about it for a while. It shouldn't catch anybody off guard, but I'm sure there's some that it will still, unfortunately catch you off guard. But I do want to show you this. I meant to show you the panel here a couple minutes ago when we were talking about the potential for development with any of these systems. And I'm actually going to do this on the fly here, so I actually haven't looked at it. So me and you will be looking at it for the first time together. But the chance for a tropical depression developing over the next 10 days, it's the highest down here in the Bay of Campeche. It really likes this area of energy down here, saying there's a 90% chance of something developing. But we'll have to watch to see if this gets backed up further in time. Chances of a tropical storm developing, much lower, of course. You got 20 to 30% chance in general right in here. So we'll certainly watch in the search for the first name storm, Alberto. But right now, we still do not have it. So cruising on through. But guys, I do want to mention this. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. There is a shot at a heat wave for the eastern U.S. Chances of above average temperatures are, pretty much, you pretty much got a, 80 to 90% chance of above average temperatures for areas of the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley areas of the Midwest. So heat wave coming, pretty hot temperatures coming, and this is this is between the 16th and 20th. This was issued yesterday of June. Really, what's responsible for this is this ridge, and we're going to start off Thursday morning. This big ridge begins to really anchor over the central U.S. this weekend, and then it really strengthens and anchors over the eastern U.S. as we get into the end of the weekend into next week. Classic look, trough in the west, ridge in the east, big ridge, big trough, hot temperatures across this region, especially above average temperatures are especially going to be there the further north you get, where this ridge is more anchored in place. So certainly a big heat dome setting up. Summer's on the way, and this looks like it might have some longevity to it. We take it 10 days out, it's still there. Remember, I don't go anywhere past 10 days. We're going to stop it right here. But a big ridge looks to be in place. High pressure across a good chunk of the country. So that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. I do apologize for mixing up the days on the Storm Prediction Center Outlook. I think that happens a couple times a year. Sometimes I just get my days mixed up. But that's all I got. God bless all y'all. Y'all have a wonderful day. And I'll have you another evening video here in the next couple days, just kind of discussing everything, because there is a lot of smaller to medium things going on. God bless all y'all. Talk to you soon.